Okay, so would you drop this beat, please, sir? My boss said this time I should try Rust rap, but my rapping skills are positively crap. Even so, Rust and rapping are a thrilling combination. Was written to introduce my talk to Rust Nation. In London we meet, and the workshops are complete. So now you people have my talk approaching at full speed. Wakey, wakey, here we are, and I know you will get entertainment out of this, or some knowledge instead. Of course I won't start right away with pages full of code. I'll start with a few stories and then switch to teaching mode. I hope that by the end you'll know a bit more than before, but otherwise enjoy the show, I try hard not to bore. I could go on and on about how many talks are lacking, the silliness of fireworks just going straight to hacking. So after whimsy, have some fun, some bars, a little flow. We're here for having a good time, but golly, here we go! Welcome to this talk, dear Rustation. You're hailing from many a nation, and you've waited some time for most uplifting rhyme, so let's start the edification. Someone from outside London got their head in my hotel too hot, and the fire alarm worked this night like a charm and woke everyone up on the spot. Since I last talked in rhyme about Rust, I worked in Java and just 3 years ago moved to Rust, which behooved me to go in completely, or bust. JFrog, from the name, you'd suppose that you use Java a while. And now those folks who work to contain errors in our supply chain, they're here getting their 5 lines of prose. Nowadays, I write Rust to help you getting into Rust code, old and new. It will show you the code, and in semantic mode, it will also explain what's it do. Rust steadily been on the rise, to no Rustation's surprise. Many people take note of our bug antidote without any speed compromise. Rust has now made it on TV, where hackers compiling you see. So join us and write Rust code with shades by night if you want as cool as them to be. Sometimes in Rust you may need more time till your code is complete, where in Python you're done when the code is still wrong, and on perf it'll never compete. Speaking of which, there once was a runtime called bun, and they thought beating Rust perf was fun. Rustation said, please bench with -- release. Now look at the benchmarks, they're gone. With Rust and Ada, some find them competing for shares of our mind. Ferris and Ada Core thought we might achieve more by applying our powers combined. The Pharisee scheme will contain necessary steps to obtain a Rust certified to ISO 26262. Let's hope the effort's not in vain. I was expecting love now. Some functional zealots will tell that mutation can never go well. But if we never share what's mutated, we spare us from data race debugging hell? You probably can't read that, but don't worry. Some coders will still look in vain for reasons with C to remain. But freedom to crash is an unholy mash of stupidity, hubris, and pain. Bjarne wants C++ to sprout some memory safety without needing more than some lint. Well, good luck. And a hint, that's what Rust's type system is all about. The Rust Foundation is here not to mandate, prescribe, boss, or steer. They support from within Rustations for the win. So let's everyone here give them some cheer. By this time, you've probably just heard elsewhere of This Week in Rust. I collect, create, and quote NPRs people wrote for our main source of Rust news you trust. There was a certain Rust PR that some folks think went way too far. Make internal code omit certain numbers, to wit, in hex they'd fill the swearing jar. In Rust, you will gladly embrace the compiler's help. If you face a refactor so hairy your brain's feeling airy, it'll keep track of time, stuff, and space. We all have learned that the bad craftsmen blamed the tools that they had. But Rust will well teach us it's not out of reach to build way better tooling instead. For Androids, it's been a must to be shiny and free of Rust. But to safety's advance, Google loosened their stance, hoping Bluetooth no longer combust. Now, in Android version 13, there's more Rust than ever has been. But now that they wrote millions Rust lines of code, memory bugs remain to be seen. Meanwhile, Rust in Linux progressed to the point where it's put to the test. The patch builds the foundation for the carcination of drivers. This stuff is the best. Asahi Linya just took the GPU of a MacBook to write drivers in Rust for Linux. One must think this isn't a light-worthy look. 15,000 lines of Rust code later, despite claims from many a hater, Linya's work here shows how kernel dev goes without any in-GPU crater. When your Rust goes embedded, you'll find no need to leave abstractions behind. With a hell, not the bore who won't open the door, you get a piece of low-level mind. When asked curl in Rust to rewrite, Daniel Stenberg said that he might, but he won't rearrange everything in one change, so it sure won't be done overnight. Yeah, it's unfortunate that he isn't here, but Rust would be far too arcane without Esteban keeping us sane, for the messages on error spark joy and not terror. though the steep learning curve does remain. When Rust-C surprisingly showed it converts a large int to a float, Marabos went completely berserk for more speed. The compilers built ints to demote. Nick's toolkit brings Rust into space. As other tools they replace, at speed they simulate how craft accelerate. At this scale, you don't let data race. New Shell builds on Rust to be able to work with data by the table and letting you pipe your data with type. It is elegant, mighty, and stable. If your code depends at any rate on the so-called Rust decimal crate, and you also did choose GitLab CI to use, check your systems before it's too late. Rust enums enjoy much attention, well deserved, so allow me to mention, with match, they enable us to code more stable and refactor to match our intention. And now if you just need a bool from a match, this macro is cool, unless you must take out of your type, it's about the best match code size reducing tool. With traits, your code faces ascension by internal Rust type extension, where you tell everything how to do anything. So allow me the payoffs to mention. When in Rust code macros you use, I worry a hard way you choose. For debugging it might become heck of a fight, which means more time later you lose. In Rust, when a thing you mutate and desire to annotate that it no longer should change, you easily could let it be itself until its fate. Last time I showed how to break Rust, but this Easter egg is now dust. Here's how out of a scope you can jump without rope, which is useful and far more robust. Rust loops come in many a style, but few know it too has do while. Though its looks may be muse, you can put it to use and rest assured it'll compile. It really looks stupid. Sometimes iterating a vec by index incurs a bounce check. However, a slice often won't, which is nice. So go get your runtime perf back. Just sometimes a Rust result looks like an owl sitting on the stacks of books with 2 units as eyes. On embedded, it flies over meadows and forests and brooks. Who knows that one? Hands up. Rust has special syntax to let your function to drop values get. It is named for its looks, toilet closure. The books tell you to use memdrop instead. In February, a year ago, Rust 159 stole the show with assignments that could destructure where you would do multiple ones. Now you know. One cool byproduct of this option that has not seen too much adoption is that you can ignore 2 without let as you do. It's a small RSI antitoxin. Rust used to use let, but with any irrefutable bindings. As many uses where one would guard, the code was somewhat hard. Now you get them a dozen a penny. Atomics allow you to choose what ordering on axis to use. While on x86, you may easily mix them. On ARM, the results may confuse. Anyone knows what that is? A memory fence. In Rust, you may know that the range type does not imply copy. How strange. But I've heard that some fine folks hatch plans to combine their powers, this to rearrange. That was surprising. Sometimes DIN traits in Rust do require thinking outside the box to acquire a solution to track different types on the stack to quench our full stack desire. To many a newbie's surprise, we often use str slice. For a lot of stuff, borrowing is enough, and not needing more memory is nice. No loss. To defer a task isn't hard. In Rust, you can just use a guard, which is a type that does undrop what you had it in mind to complete from the start. Speaking of drop, when a large, naive linked list you drop, your program will crash and then stop, for you'll exhaust the stack. From there, there's no way back. So please do manual while let pop. With Rust, every coder feels safe. So some venture ever so brave into OS flaws to poke some holes into the cover to then rant and rave. When in Rust creates features you use and don't ask for docsrs to choose to document all, it's dropping the ball. As with features, it's somewhat obtuse. A cool thing in nightly Rust be called portable SIMD, which means you can say in a cross-platform way how instructions should parallel be. If your code has the requirement that a type be not sync or not sent, it's time to introduce a phantom to choose which types contract you will amend. Thread scope, the first time around Rust 1.0, alas, was unsound. But if you're keeping track, you know that it's back, this time with correct lifetime bound. I told you about cow last time, but failed to mention in my rhyme that you can assign add or change in place what you had. Here, as mut is its partner in crime. Formatting macros now combine format strings with arguments in line. Note that this will fail to work with all things you do not in local bindings define. When in async Rust functions you call, they don't do any work at all. Instead, they will wait for you to await them. This might cause your program to stall. When in Rust async code you borrow across an await, you reap sorrow. For those two things don't mix, but with arg you might fix your code's problems until tomorrow. When a future no longer you need, and you won't wait for it to complete, you drop it, it's gone, there's no need to hold on, and your other code works at full speed. That's a hash. Rust hash maps have some subtle tricks. Now throw Rust C hash into the mix. If you do not expect to be perf-wise attacked, use the hasher it has called fx. When in Rust you're coding for speed and you write to a file, you will need to buffer your write, or your system might wait for every byte to complete. Likewise, it may come as a shock, all your println calls silently block. On standard out, be aware, if you're for speed you do care. In that case, best use standards out's lock. Like third line here. Those decrying Rust's unsafe escape hatch because it kills all safety net, most expert will tell that it works pretty well if all invariants you do catch. Some people tell you unsafe will turn off borrow check and then shill for C, which is why they tell this bald lie, because Rust C is checking things still. However, I had to use this slide. When in unsafe Rust code you write and get some things not quite right, it's no longer the season for rhyme nor for reason, though your program may run out of spite. Though Rust saves you from a large class of errors when RAM you amass, it won't fix any test on its own. So you best make sure that each one does pass. All read it? Okay. When Rust C with garbage you feed, don't fret if the errors you read are confusing as hell. The compiler goes, well, I'm telling you straight what I need. When secrets you handle in Rust, deleting them safely you must. So you don't get hacked and your defense is cracked. The zero eyes crate, I would trust. That query, you'd normally think I was rhyming while having a drink. But in Rust, it describes a framework to use types so folks can't step over the brink. Andrew Gallant of RipGrab fame is upping Rust byte string game to make prodding with Rust real-world data robust with impressive performance to claim. Nobody is old as to, yeah, don't worry. If a Rust library you change to avoid things downstream going strange, you can deftly depend on what future amend you going to pre-rearrange. So no one caught that this is about the Tonnes Semver hack, but okay. If in Rust code you need to parse some args, either dense or sparse, where one went for struct op, this dependency stopped, as now clap pulls it out of its derives. A bevy of games, not of geese, in Rust is a sign that will please. So join in the fun, get some Rust games to run. You'll find one can do that with ease. With Tori, you stand on the shoulder of web tech giants. Treat Boulder to build quick applications in all variations and run them before getting older. When some Rustaceans exercise their muscles, it's not very nice. Their squats, at any rate, each go in their own crate, so that others need to improvise. Yeah, crate squatting is a real problem. We're surprised to hear cargo test is speed-wise no longer the best. So I'll gladly install next test. After all, my cores don't need too much rest. Insta will easily check if the objects your test code gets back are the same as before, when in good state they bore, so your tests are quickly on track. From Embark in Stockholm says hi, the subcommand cargo deny, which will thoroughly see your dependency tree through for, wow, lots of problems, oh my! Clippy users who, at first sense, they're constantly making amends to make their code good, as they probably should, will later become lifelong friends. Cargo Clippy now has --fix, which changes your code's subbar sticks to improve its style and perf, and meanwhile, it has got up its sleeve some more tricks. The Clippy workshop went great. Most people stayed with us late. With good work, much respect, Clippy lins to correct, and also new lins to create. Cargo semverver will check if your current crate version is back, what's compatible, and one if changes on hand. That gives users a pain in the neck. Your performance desire to quench, you can put your code on the bench. But to make it complete, a criterion you need, lest measurement errors avenge. A helix of Rust can be made to work on the code you create. Between entering code, you switch to command mode with complete and assists. It is great. With a crypto winter afoot, Rust jobs are now mostly good. Insert Cloud UI, embedded AI. If you haven't applied yet, you should. Anyone recognize this? Should I buy an aquarium, my wish is to fill it with rust turbofish. One throw, one reverse, to complete this verse, and a TV with satellite dish. Festive Ferris the crab crossed the street, a bunch of gophers to meet, and pythons and others, all FFI brothers, to get something to drink and to eat. It sort of looks like me. If you tell people that they must from now on write all code in Rust, you will earn some, oh shucks, for your lobbying sucks. Good luck on regaining their trust. If your thirst for rhymes isn't quenched and your love of Rust is entrenched, you'll find more of my verse on Twitter, or verse if that service is tabled or benched. An ML model showed it could rhyme about Rust. In a fraction of time, it does take me to write a poem. I won't fight it, 'cause having more rhymes is sublime. Well, tickle me pink, I admire this work, for now I can retire and sit on a beach, a stiff drink in my reach. Why should this AI draw my ire? Farewell now, my friends, time to go. I hope you're enjoying the show, and thank you so much for you being such a great audience. Cheerio!
So I suppose it's question time. But it must be in rhyme.
No, it doesn't. Nobody?
I have a question.
Ah!
I guess I have a question. What happened to the ukulele?
Because if there are no questions, I could just play a bit. So if you want that, then don't ask. So let's see if the mic picks it up. Does it work? Yes. Okay. What should I play? I'm sitting here in the boring room. It's just another lazy Sunday afternoon. I'm wasting my time, I got nothing to do. I'm hanging around, oh, I'm waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder, I'm driving around in my car. I'm driving too fast and I'm driving too far. I'd like to change my point of view. I feel so lonely waiting for you, but nothing ever happens. And I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see is just a yellow lemon tree. I turn my head up and down. I turn it around, and all that I can see is just a yellow lemon tree. Sing, bop, ba da da da, dee da da, ba da da da, dee da da, da dee dee da. I'm sitting here, I miss the park. I'd like to go out, taking a shower, but there's a heavy cloud inside my head. I feel so tired, put myself into bed where nothing ever happens. And I wonder Isolation is not good for me. Isolation, I don't want to sit on a lemon tree. I'm stepping around in the desert of joy. Baby, anyhow, I get another toy and anything will happen. And you wonder, I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see is just a yellow lemon tree. I turn in my head up and down. I turn and turn and turn and turn and turn it around, and all that I can see, and all that I can see, and all that I can see is just the yellow lemon tree.